And to hear the government tell it, there is danger afoot overseas right now, especially in parts of the Arab world. Today, the State Department is saying, watch your back if you travel. Let me show you just a live picture from Cairo at this hour. This is the tip of the iceberg. When you think about really the chaos that is currently gripping the Middle East, North Africa, the government has said it will close certain embassies this coming Sunday, including the one in Cairo, based upon credible fears of potential unrest, potential attacks. But now they're doubling down because today Washington has issued this worldwide travel directive alerting us to potential terrorist attacks, especially in the Middle East. Let me quote here. It says, potential attacks could occur in or could emanate from the Arabian Peninsula. That one is worth noting. The directive says there is a heightened threat between now and the end of August, with possible targets including subway and rail systems, as well as aviation and maritime services. This is serious stuff. Take a listen.
The leadership of the House has been briefed on the subject. My staff was at that briefing, and they briefed me as to what the basis of it is. Yes, we have been briefed. And now that it's in the public domain that the embassies will be closed, and there's a travel alert for Americans traveling abroad, there's some understanding of the seriousness of the threat.
So stay with me as we piece this whole thing together. Chris Lawrence joins me now from the Pentagon, Capitol Hill, CNN's chief congressional correspondent, Dana Bash, and Paul Cruikshank, CNN terrorism analyst. So welcome to all of you. Dana Bash, let me just begin with you. We heard Leader Pelosi talking about briefing House leaders. You talked to the Intel chair, Mike Rogers. What does he know? What did he share with you?
Well, I should clarify that our producer, Paul Corson, caught him on his way out when all of Congress was leaving. Everybody is gone now for 5 weeks. Let me just actually play that sound and we can talk about it on the other side.
Please. You know, I mean, obviously there's going to be some controversy on the bill, but we'll work through it. We've worked through other controversial issues on the oversight bill. We'll work through the controversial issues this year as well.
Yeah, the things I've seen described in the New York Times about what you were looking at are accurate. The idea of maybe putting the data in the hands of the private companies or declassifying.
We're looking out for all of it. Okay. Yeah. So we're trying to make sure we have all of it.
Understood.
Congressman, can you tell us more about the worldwide threat, please? What are you briefing about?
Obviously, it's serious enough that we're taking concrete steps to make sure that our personnel overseas are safe.
More broadly, how can Congress leave when there's so much unfinished business?
Well, there's plenty of those of us who do national security work that will continue to do that work over the month of August.
Can you comment on, is a travel warning tied to the embassy closings?
Now, he is obviously the Republican chair of the House Intelligence Committee. Brooke, just before coming on with you, I just hung up the phone with a Democratic source who is familiar with what is going on in the intelligence world, who says that this is very significant, that what they were told was that this potential threat could be very soon, no specific date. Did not say what a source earlier today told me, which is that they know specifically that these embassies are the targets, that they have other chatter that might suggest it could be more broad than that. But this is something that is obviously significant enough for not just the intelligence committees, which are generally briefed on issues like this, but the leadership as well. The vice president himself did that earlier this week.
And Paul, when you read parts of these directives, you see Arabian Peninsula, I think Yemen, I think Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. What does that say to you?
Well, I think, Brooke, that there are some indications that this could potentially be a risk of an attack in Yemen from the group over there, Al-Qaeda, in the Arabian Peninsula. This is a group that was driven out of the tribal areas of Yemen last year, but they've since regrouped and they've been launching quite a lot of urban warfare type of attacks, terrorist type of attacks. This is a group that in 2008 attacked the US embassy in Yemen, didn't breach the perimeter, but it killed 16 Yemenis. So it has a track record, Brooke, of attacking American interests in the country.
And Chris Lawrence, when we hear about this, 2 directives given in 2 days certainly gets our attention.
Yeah, well, Brooke, from what we're hearing, the more we're hearing from sources, the more everything is pointing to, as Paul mentioned, Yemen. Specifically, officials are looking at a potential threat to the U.S. Embassy in Yemen between tomorrow and Tuesday. U.S. intelligence officials have been picking up a growing threat from the Al-Qaeda affiliate based in Yemen over the past several weeks. But it's really only in the last several days that they got additional intelligence. And after analyzing that, that's when they said there is a potential threat not only in Yemen, but also potentially to Western targets in North Africa, in the Middle East. That is why you saw first the embassies closed, and then subsequently you saw the worldwide travel warning.
Paul, before last year's attack on Benghazi, do you think the government would have gone to this length, or do you think that these directives are in direct response to that and also the criticism that's ensued?
Well, Brooke, clearly that plays into the calculations. There have also been other plots against U.S. embassies in the region. In May, there was a plot broken up against the U.S. embassy in Cairo. In November of last year, there was a plot against the U.S. embassy in Amman, Jordan. So it's not just Benghazi. There has been a sort of increased threat against U.S. interests in the Middle East. This is very much Ayman al-Zawahiri's strategy, the leader of al-Qaeda, to hit the United States in the Middle East. So a lot of concern about that, Brooke.
And finally, Chris, if you're an American, I mean, listen, this is the end of summer. Many Americans are traveling overseas. I don't know how many Americans are going to Yemen per se, but let's say you're headed to Europe. What sort of warnings or precautions should people be taking?
I think the worldwide caution is just to sort of keep your eyes open, eyes and ears open, be a little more alert than normal. Look, there are going to be families taking their kids on vacation in Europe, people traveling home to the Middle East to see their families there. No one's saying, cancel all your vacation plans. But I think in terms of the embassies, they did not want people lining up outside the embassies during these next several days when some of these threats may be at their highest, coming in to get visas and do paperwork and things like that, presenting a more obvious target, so to speak, for any potential attack. But in no way is this warning saying Americans don't leave the country over the next month. It's telling them, please be alert.
Okay. Chris Lawrence, Dana Bash, Paul Cruikshank, thank you all very much.